Understanding the power of money is vital to your success. The scary part is most people don't even know why. So in this video, I'm going to break it all down for you. The first thing you need to understand is the hustle behind money. So let me just paint a picture really quick. Let's say you have a rich kid that super spoiled. He gets everything he wants, right? He turned 16, parents give him a brand new car. He wants this, parents throw $10,000 in his face, whatever, right? Now let's say on the flip side, you have another kid, Section 8 housing, super poor. His parents they don't got much money, you know what I mean? This kid has to work for everything. He got a job when he was 15 years old just to pay the bills, just to help out with his family, right? Now the difference is these kids are gonna act totally differently when they step outside into the real world, get a job, get their own apartment, all this stuff, right? The spoiled rich kid that his parents never taught him why money is important, why this is important. They just threw money at his face. He was chilling, whatever. He's gonna step outside the house and realize at a young age, crap, money is everything. And my parents aren't just going to throw money at me anymore. I have to work for it. He realizes I want a haircut. That costs money. He realizes, oh, I want those new shoes. That costs money, right? I need food in my belly. That costs money. Everything costs money. You don't pay with your feelings. Now, the poor kid, for example, he had to get everything on his own, all right? He wanted the new car. He had to get a job and pay on his own. His parents didn't help him out at all, right? He wanted the new shoes, same thing. New clothes, same thing. Everything. He had to work for everything he ever wanted. Now, the key difference between the two is the spoiled kid is going to step out into the real world, expect the money to fall from a tree, and he's chilling, right? He doesn't have to work for it because all from 0 to 18 or whatever, he got everything. His parents got him the new car, the new shoes, this. He wants this, boom, his parents got it for him. He never had to work a day in his life. Now, the other kid is going to go into the real world knowing, okay, time is money. I need to work for this, right? And I'm not even just saying a job necessarily. It could be any way to make money. It could be entrepreneurship. It could be a business. It could be a 9-to-5, whatever. It doesn't matter. But my point is the mindsets are very different. One was raised spoiled and, didn't have to work for it. The other one had to work for everything. So who do you think is going to value money more? Obviously, the kid that had to work for everything he ever wanted. Now, you may be wondering, well, it doesn't have to be so black and white. And yes, it does not have to be so black and white. You could grow up middle class. You could, you could even grow up with parents that are rich, but that just don't spoil you and still make you, maybe get a job, they might help you out a little bit, but you still gotta, you still gotta play your part, right? And I feel like I'm a prime example of this because even though my parents did make good money and it was never like I was struggling or whatever, it's never like, I didn't know where my next meal was gonna come from. I was chilling on that, but they still made sure, okay, you gotta get a job if you want that, right? You want a new car, you gotta get a job, save up. I might pitch in a little bit, but you still gotta, play your part type. So my point is, it doesn't have to be so black and white. You can still have rich parents, but they can teach you the power of money by making you get a job, by helping pay some bills here and there, by, you know what I mean? If you want this, you gotta pay for it. You know what I mean? I might help you out, but like you still gotta pitch in basically. And obviously the older you get, the more expenses you're gonna have, right? When you're 23, you probably live by yourself. You probably, you know what I mean? You pay for your groceries, utility bills, your car, right? Clothes, all this stuff, right? So if you know the power of money, you know that, okay, I got to work 40 hours a week. I'm not going to mess around with this, right? If you don't know the power of money, though, you're going to walk out into the real world and be like, hold on, dang, this costs a lot of money. Like, I've never had to deal with this. All right, so now you kind of know why the hustle of money is important. You know what I mean? Because if you're brought up the wrong way or your parents don't teach you like, hey, money doesn't fall on trees, you're going to walk out into real life thinking that, and reality is going to slap you in the face, bruh. Second point I want to make is time equals money. I'm sure you guys have heard this a lot, but I really just want to iterate on it even more. Now, time is money is really a good concept to ingrain in your noggin, all right? Because let's say you work a job, right? 40 hours a week, full time, whatever. And you go to a store one day, you see a sick t-shirt, you're like, damn, I want that, right? It's like $60, right? Let's say you make 20 an hour, right? Some of y'all don't even, you know what I mean? But let's just say 20 an hour, right? So that's 3 hours right there, right? 3 hours of your time, okay? Now you looking at that t-shirt and you're like, okay, does this make sense to buy the t-shirt? Because sometimes it doesn't, bro. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? So you have to really dissect it in your brain. Does the 3 hours, is this t-shirt worth 3 hours of my time? Because a lot of the time it isn't, bro. Not going to lie. A lot of this artificial crap is not worth all the time, bro. I'm not going to lie. Now, obviously, this is different if you're making money in your sleep, right? Because that doesn't necessarily equate to time. But at the same time, anything that's going to make you money is going to take time to make you money. Even if it's a business, and let's say it makes you $1,000 a night in your sleep, you still had to make that business. You still had to gain the followers. You still had to put in the work. You still had to take risk, all this, right? So you still got to do something. So don't tell me that money, unless people are just, okay, here's $10,000, boom, to the face. That's different, all right? But most of the time, even if it's a business, entrepreneurship, whatever, you're still going to have to put in work, which will then equate to money. But if we're talking about the average Joe, right, that works 40 hours a week, whatever, their time equals money. And this is really a mindset change I had to give myself, right? Because I'm not going to lie, I work a job. You know what I mean? I work a job. Okay. Now, for an example, let's just say I see like pair of sneakers, right? They're like $200, whatever, right? Well, that's 10 hours of my time, not even including taxes. So it's really like 11 to 12. It's 10 hours of my time, right? That's a lot. So I'm looking at these sneakers. I got to figure out, was that really worth the effort, right? That I had to put in for this, right? Right? Because there's wants and there's needs, okay? You need to pay your rent. You need to have clothes on your back. You need to have food in the fridge. You need to have, the lights on, all this stuff. That's a must. The t-shirt, the shoes, the going out to eat, that's a want, right? You don't need that. So when I see these $200 sneakers that took me 10 hours to work for, well, that $200 could go towards much more important stuff, right? My rent, food, etc., And I think a lot of the times, the more you pay bills, the more you really understand the logic, right? Because if you're 16, you don't pay bills. Let's say you work part-time, you make like $400 a week. Well, if you're not paying bills, then yeah, I mean, it's easy to see the t-shirt and just be like, oh yeah, I want that, so I'm gonna get it, But when you got to pay bills and you have priorities, you know what I mean? And you got stuff that isn't a want, but more so a need to get, right? That's the last thing on your mind. That should be the last thing. I'm not going to lie. If that's the first thing on your mind, bro, you really need to look yourself in the mirror and stand on business, bro. I'm not going to lie. Now, the third concept I want to bring up is money can open but also close doors in your life. Think about it, bro. You want to go to Miami for a business meeting, whatever. It's probably going to cost you some money. On the flip side, you don't want to be around certain people. You don't want to be in this position. Money can get you out of that. Money can get you out of crappy situations. It can also put you in great situations. Also, I'm not going to lie, it's a grimy world out there, okay? A lot of the times, people only want to kick it with you if you have money involved. I'm just being 100% honest, all right? Think about it this way, right? If you saw 5 millionaires, okay, do you really think they want you in your circle if you're not making that kind of money? Probably not, okay? Maybe if this is your day one homie, maybe that's different. If these are new people, though, you're going to have to show some money, you know what I mean, on that level. There's really levels to this stuff. Money is just not a baseline. I hate to say it, but you know what I mean? There is levels to this. So yeah, I'm going to be brutally honest. If you want to hang around certain people or certain locations or certain events, it's going to take some money, you know what I mean? If you're a millionaire, be honest with me. If you're a millionaire, you would not kick it with a lazy, unmotivated, broke person. You just wouldn't. Listen, I wouldn't, because it's sweet to say, oh, well, everyone's equal and it's more about character, which definitely does play a part. I mean, people can be mean with money and great when they're broke. But what I am saying is you cannot fully agree with that statement, because it's a lie. It is a lie, okay? You do need money to be with certain people, to be in certain locations. You can't expect to make $5 an hour and kick it with people that are making $500 an hour. They're not going to want to kick it with you. Respectfully, they just aren't. And I'm just going to be so blunt right now. You could have muscles, you could have this, you could have that. You could be the nicest person on earth, bro. A lot of times if you don't have money, you know what I mean? It's not going to work out, right? Especially when you talk about the business side of things. Oh man, that's a whole new level. That's a whole new level, bro. Anybody in business, bro, a lot of the times you're going to have to show them some money, or at least be money motivated. You know what I mean? You can't be this kind of person with the mentality of saying, oh, well, I'm above money and it doesn't, bro. No, if you want to get into business, especially, like, no, you need to have that type of mentality. Anyways, man, I think that's enough yapping for the day. Those were the three reasons why you really need to understand the power of money and how it is vital to your success. Okay. So if you like this video, go subscribe, man. I'm giving y'all free sauce on the daily. All right. So that's going to be it. And yeah, I'm going to see y'all on the next one, man. Peace.